something I've seen this weekend kinda got me thinking. Like I was looking for tutorial shit and whatever, right? I don't know where it was. I saw a forum thread where somebody posted for this game, hey, how many hours do I have to go into training mode to be able to play the game? And that question kind of took me a little bit by surprise. How many hours do I have to play training mode to be able to play this game? Like, I legit have been thinking about that, right? Like, that question feels to me like you have the idea that fighting games are so difficult that there's like this insane training process you have to go through to just be able to play, right? I feel that's something, you know, that's only fighting games get that shit, right? I've never seen anyone say, man, how many hours do I have to, you know, spend on the shooting range in whatever, you know, in Overwatch or whatever, right? How many times do I have to get out of the gulag in Call of Duty to be, you know, to actually play the game? That doesn't happen in other games. That's only fighting games where people have this idea of, you know, I need to spend X amount of time in the training mode. Like, they're acting like it's Dragon Ball Z, right? Oh, I'm going in the hyperbolic time chamber and I'm emerging as an S-tier online player. That's how training mode works, right? And I think that's such a peculiar thing, that the fighting game, you know, that, and I think it's specifically people who are not into fighting games in general. They have like this idea that fighting games are super difficult compared to other games, when I personally think they're not. I think so many shooters, in my opinion, are equally as hard, maybe even harder. Like things like Rainbow Six, like Siege, that's a difficult game to learn, like all the maps, all those operators, whatever it is. That's a lot of information, but people don't ask, you know, like how many hours do I have to spend training, you know? But second of all, another thing that kind of blows me away is the idea that like you go into training mode before playing. And that's also kind of something, I guess it's because if you're not into fighting games, it looks that way with a training mode. But the way I use a training mode is, you know, I guess I look at a training mode as like a tool to find answers. But you need the problems first. Like you need to know which problems to solve in training mode. And that's what you get in matches. If you play in a match and you lose, that means you have problems that you can solve in training mode. That's how I look at it. Now, of course, if you're brand new to a fighting game, the first problem, right, is what are my moves? What are my basic combos, right? How does the system of the game work? Kinda, right? Those are your first problems. So sure, like, especially if you know fighting games, if you boot up a new one, you're gonna go in training mode, you're gonna do some, you know, you want to know what's like the basic shit, what's like my bread and butters. So if I get an opportunity for damage, what can I do? But then you have to go into matches, not mashing. You have to go into matches and see what works, see what doesn't work. Like for example, I feel today on stream, feel like I made some progress, right? There were multiple scenarios where I was getting more punishes in, I was crouching a little more stuff. It was still rough being rushed down, but I'm slowly starting to see where you can get something in, what I should do, you know, the whole thing with guard impacting and shit. But yeah, that question kind of took me by surprise. Just the idea that you had to lab for a certain amount of time, and also the idea that the lab is something you should spend time, like that there's a general way you have to spend time in the lab and that's how you get better. While in reality, to me, you know, the lab is to find answers, but you need to find the problems first, and that's what you get in matches. So yeah, and on top of that, this is fucking lasagna, right? lasagna. There's layers to this shit, to this question. This one question, right, raises all these questions, right? Like, who says playing a fighting game means you have to get good at it, right? I know how this sounds, right? I know this sounds like, oh, you want to be a scrub forever, huh? That's how it is, right? But yeah, nobody says that if you play a fighting game, you have to get the best one. Oh, you have to get the best at it, right? I mean, like, there's so many things you can learn in life. Like, let's say you learn guitar or piano or whatever. Like, how many times does somebody want to pick up a guitar and is like, yeah, but how many hours is it gonna take me before I can play like Jimi Hendrix? It's like, no, nobody thinks like that. Everyone just starts doing it, and you know, 99% of people who do it are average, are normal, or just, you know, they can do it, but they're not exceptional. And that's fine. Same with fighting games. You don't have to be a top 8 player. You don't have to be. You can aspire to it, but nobody says you have to be that good at a fighting game at any cost. And if you can't, that you don't start, right? Of course, you should start, you just play, have fun, and end of story, right? I don't get this obsession with always looking at, like, isn't that so weird? It's just the way fighting games, I don't know. It's like this idea in my head. I really can't get through it, right? What is this idea about fighting games that they're so difficult and that you have to get super good at them, otherwise don't even bother playing them? It is crazy. It is crazy. But hey, dude, and that's all just from one guy asking online, hey, how many hours do you have to lab to get good at this game? Such a layered question. Oof. It's a toxic mindset. It is a mindset a lot of people have though, right? Just have fun and everyone should be like that. True. And I'm not saying you shouldn't aspire to be good, like that can be fun. But you have to realistically accept that the majority of and this is a rough pill to swallow, right? The majority of players are not going to be top players. That's kind of the point of someone being the top. That means you're the exception to the rule. You're the best, better than the majority. I like labbing more than playing ranked, but you're in a different situation. You're already at a level in this game where you're past the basic shit, right? So for you, going into the lab is just, you have 500 problems in your back pocket. You know so many situations, so many things that you can find solutions to, or find setups to, or whatever. So at that point, labbing is a whole different beast, but the idea is still the same. You're looking to take one situation, a problem, and then figuring out all the solutions, all the options, right? I think that's completely different. Once you're into a game, it's different, because then you can see what the lab is for. I feel we should break it down, right? If people ask about getting into fighting games and they think it's super difficult, just tell them it's not difficult. It's just a lot. That's all. It's like exactly like playing guitar. It's not necessarily difficult. It's just a lot. And you know, just brick by brick, you will build that house. And that's just how it is. How many hours do you have to spend in Creative Soul to make a good-looking character? It's impossible. The more time you spend, the worse it's gonna get. Before you know it, you're playing as a lizard dick, or a flying cube, or a giant donut, or whatever shit people think of.